everyone, and welcome to the Voice Mood. I'm your host, Olivia Peck, your local millennial voice teacher. It's so great to have you here. We're talking about some big topics today. First and foremost, Autotune. Oh boy, this has been a big conversation since 1998 when Cher released Believe, and we're still talking about it. I think it's important to talk about, though, because there's live performances that use autotune and pitch correction, and we want to be fully transparent about this when we talk about how to sing and how to be as perfect as possible. But keep in mind that things generally are pitch corrected or auto tuned out there in these high profile performances. So, we're going to talk about that first. Woohoo! Yes. All right. So, this has been something that's come up in with my students. It's something that's come up online here, and it's like I said, a really good thing to talk about because as a voice teacher, something I focus on obviously is singing technique, right? I focus on how to achieve a certain sound, how to land on the pitch, how to get a certain tone quality, how to hit those high notes. And we want to still aim for that. And when we listen to K-pop Demon Hunters or watch these live performances of Taylor Swift, Beyonce, all our favorites, we also want to keep in mind that they often have tools to enhance their performance and make sure they mitigate the risks that come from performing live. Okay? And when we look at these people, we don't always think about that because we're just listening to music, right? We're not always thinking about this stuff. So I want to give a big shout out to Wings of Pegasus. He's a producer, he's a musician, and he's a really smart guy, and he knows a lot about autotune, okay? And he makes a lot of videos on this. And he made a video about the recent performance, and you can watch that video. I linked it in the description about the live performance of Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters, which really took the world by storm. And there are some key takeaways, but really just questions left unanswered, I think, for vocalists that I want to talk about because that's what I do. So, big shout out to him. Check out his videos if you want to learn more about autotune, if you want to learn about how it's used in the mainstream, and even local artists use it. So, it's a really common tool. All right. So, big shout out to him. I also linked the performance in the description as well of the live Golden performance on The Tonight Show. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's talk about autotune. So, does autotune make you a good singer? Is this type of song attainable live? Is autotune bad? And why do we use it? These are the questions that we come away with when we look at autotune and pitch correction. Okay. So, first of all, we have to ask ourselves what actually is autotune? What actually is pitch correction? So, these are words that get thrown around and interchangeably sometimes, but they're two different things. I'm not going to go into the details because I'm not an expert on this, but I can tell you that autotune snaps the pitch into place so that it's perfect. When you sing, your pitch is going to be a little wobbly. That's how the human voice is. By wobbly, I don't mean like, like that, but the wave of sound is not going to be a straight line. It's going to look more like a wiggly line. So, autotune helps straighten those lines and get it more centered around the pitch you're singing. Okay. So you can hear this in Cher's Believe. Do you believe in life after love? Okay. That very robotic sound is an extreme and artistic choice using autotune. All right. Pitch correction is a little bit more about changing pitches incrementally on a very small scale, but sometimes a large scale, but you can do it as much as you want. You can raise the pitch to be um a point 1, point 2 higher or lower as opposed to autotune, which is more about like snapping the pitch and programming the pitch. So, pitch correction is more getting into one or two pitches or as many as you want, but you can zero in, from what I understand. And autotune is more programming it to land straight on the pitch like a computer. Okay. So moving on, and both are used. Both are used on stage, and both uh, auto tune is used on stage and live. Pitch correction, I think it's just like an interchangeable word to use it in place of auto tune, but you can use that on stage and live as well. And not just big stars use auto tune. There are musicians who will play around town who will use pitch correction when they sing to help make sure that things are in tune. Okay. So it's not just the big stars who use this, there are people at your local coffee shop who will use it too. Not all of them. Usually you can tell because they'll have pedals and stuff. And I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. Just because someone has a foot pedal to enhance their vocals doesn't mean they're using pitch correction. But just to let you know, it's something that's used very widely. All right, so moving on. Does auto tune make you a good singer? Yes and no. So, as I was saying before, autotune has a robotic quality. Okay. You can usually hear it if it's used in an extreme amount. So, for instance, when I watched Golden, the live performance, the first thing that jumped out at me was wow, EJ has a beautiful tone quality. It sounded real, it sounded natural because there wasn't a lot of robotic sound to it. There was a little bit of that shine on it, so I assume there was some pitch correcting going on or some of that, but it sounded subtle to me, and that's my opinion. Um, and so you can detect it usually. You can hear it a little bit, um, but sometimes it is more subtle. So people use it in different amounts. Some people will use it, like T-Pain uses autotune for a very stylistic choice. A lot of genres use it as sort of a shiny, stylistic, robotic choice to make things sound more instrumental. Right. So I talk about Cher at the beginning of this video. So Cher is a great example because when you listen to her Believe song, you can really hear it. And if you watch any of the Wings of Pegasus videos, you will start to hear it when it's used in different amounts. Okay. Another thing to make note of is using pitch correction and autotune. If you're doing it for yourself, you do have to have knowledge of music. You have to have a pretty good ear because you have to understand keys, what key you're in, sharp versus flat. If you are looking at, a music producer doing it for you, that's a different story. But if you're doing it for yourself, you actually do have to have knowledge of music most of the time, or at least understand what's sharp and flat. So it is a bit of a skill also. All right, so let's move on from this. All right, so if you want to hear a more poppy song with no auto tune, there's a whole video that Wings of Pegasus does on this. Alicia Keys does not use auto tune in the song No One, No One, No One, No One. And he goes in and he puts in auto tune so you can hear what it would sound like if she did use auto tune. So that's a really great video. If you want to check that out, I'll link it in the show notes after I'm done with this live. Also, if you have any questions, let me know. This is a Q&A. So this is a topic of the week, but if you have any singing questions, let me know. I am a voice teacher. That's why I'm doing this videos, because it was requested. So moving on. So yeah, some things do not have auto-tune. Some things do. It's different amounts, okay? All right, so we did a quick shout out. That's the whole reason I'm doing this video is because this Wings of Pegasus YouTuber comes a lot in lessons and on YouTube. Okay, so something we have to realize when you are listening to something live that's a high profile performance, think mainstream media, even live performances around your town, we have to assume that there may be pitch correction or autotune, especially high profile performances, meaning like famous people. Okay. And a really important thing, and this is partially going into my opinion, so take this with a grain of salt. People don't always use autotune because they can't sing. People use autotune because A, it's an industry standard sound. So, unfortunately, most of our ears are used to the sound of autotune because it's used so much. So, when you're performing or when you're producing a song, you want it to match what else is out there. Again, this kind of goes into genre. So, pop is a big one that uses autotune, and you want it to sound like other pop songs. So, using autotune will give it that smooth quality that other pop songs have. Unfortunately, that's the reality we're living in. Another reason is to mitigate risk. So, I'll talk about an example of that in a minute, but when you have these big money makers who are putting out a product, they're trying to mitigate the risk of something going wrong in the performance that's going to live on the internet forever. So it's more of like a thing that they do. It doesn't necessarily mean that what they're doing is unattainable. It just means they're trying to mitigate risk. So sometimes too, Wings of Pegasus, he talks about this. The song is too difficult. Is Golden too difficult to sing? That's the big question. You know, as a voice teacher, that's what I talk about. Can you sing this? Can you sing Golden? Can you sing it in the original key? Yes. There are plenty of people out there, students of mine, who've gone through Golden the song and they can sing the song. Is it a difficult song? Yes. It's very difficult. Some things that we look at. Is this song in your range? Can you match this type of tone quality that you're trying to achieve? Does it fit your strengths as a singer? Can you sing it in tune? That's what we look at. We don't look at necessarily like, oh, let's make it exactly like the recording, but we do want to make sure you can sing these notes, you can sing it with the same type of belt that they're doing live or they're doing in the recording. So that I think that needs to be said. Now, let's look at an example, though, why a live performance for these high profile people is different. Talk about Beyonce. So, this was a big moment, and probably no one remembers it, but Beyonce lip synced the national anthem due to risk. So, artists like we talked about in a couple lives ago about the live performance, people will lower the key for songs or when they sing live. So this was a question that came up. Um, Talking about why it was lower, why EJ sang the song lower. And the reason is she allegedly could have been recovering from bronchitis or whatever. Bronchitis or not, people lower keys live, people do different things live because of the vocal demand of singing in a certain setting. So, for instance, Chapel Roan will lower a key for a song because it's easier to sing a whole set and lower that one song than sing it in its original key and also maintain the stamina for an entire set, multiple songs. So, there's different things people do live to maintain this perfection that we're all after, okay? But this is talking about high profile stuff, um, or recordings. So that's something that happens. But anyways, so Beyonce recorded it because she wasn't able to get a sound check. She wasn't able to um, confirm that this performance was going to be risk averse, I guess, because she's outdoors. It's a windy day. And this is the presidential inauguration. Can Beyonce sing? Yes, there's no question. Can she sing the national anthem? Yes, there's no question. But this was an event that she had to take in all these factors. So it's just something that's not a black and white video. Okay, so this is a great question from Kevik here. I think the problem is this K-pop area. It's so processed. How far you can go and still call it live? This is a great question. So my way of thinking about it is, if you are going to look at a live performance of K-pop being a very processed genre. So it's pretty auto-tune, it's very smoothed out. That's the standard of K-pop. And then you're looking at the live version of it. I thought that, for instance, the golden version sounded not super processed. If they wanted to achieve that sound, if they wanted to achieve that smooth sound, yes, I would say you would need to use Autotune, but at the same time, there's a lot of musical theater and singers who have a very clear voice like that. Not everyone can make that sound, but I don't want to rule it out as it's like you can't attain it, I guess. But one more thing about that is, yes, we need to recognize there's auto-tune in these genres and that it's used live and in the studio. How much they use it live is really hard to tell unless you really do like a deep dive. So here's another great comment. So the problem is a bar of expectation has been set for the listener, and so no going back, I fear. This is the main thing that I come back to too as a voice teacher. And again, I will say it depends on what you are trying to achieve. Are you trying to achieve a robotic sound or are you trying to hit the notes? Because you can hit the notes if the song fits your voice. It's not impossible to hit the notes. Um, it's not impossible to sing it in tune. Is it impossible to have a robotic precision? Yeah, but there's songs from like hundreds of years ago that are just as difficult, much more difficult, and people achieve it. Is it going to have that robotic quality? No. I guess when I'm hearing something, I'm not listening for that. I'm listening for, can you hit the notes? Can you sing it in a belt? Can you sing it in head voice? Can you sing it in a chest voice quality? That stuff is still all part of singing. Whether, I hope that makes sense. I know this is kind of confusing. Hello. Yes, sound off. Let me know when y'all are here. It's great to see you. This is such a fun topic. And let me know if y'all have any singing questions, okay? And I'll pause to answer. And I'm almost done with this whole thing on Autotune. So just a couple more things about it and chime in, chime in. All right, so again, there's different reasons people use it. Doesn't mean they can't sing, but people use it to achieve sort of a stylistic purpose, a robotic almost sound. All right. So something to think about. Something to think about. What are you trying to achieve? All right. So let's think about this as well. This is not a perfect list, but this will help kind of weed out what's auto-tune, what's not. So, Autotune was really brought to the forefront by Cher, as I said, in the mainstream for with Believe. Do you believe in life after love? Okay. Before 1998, I believe it was, things didn't use Autotune quite as much. Pitch correction, allegedly, according to Google, existed around the 1970s, but anything before that is more going to be a more natural sound. To this day, um, jazz music, opera for sure. I would not say opera uses pitch correction. A lot of live performances and a lot of Broadway performances might use a little bit of pitch correcting, but it's mostly raw, natural singing. Okay. So listening to live music is important as a singer. Listen to different settings where the voice is. Listen to voices without a microphone, with a microphone. I'll link in the comments after this, and when I do the timestamps of a video Matt Edwards did, a voice teacher I look up to a lot, of singers with and without a microphone. So that's something to also think about: microphone versus no microphone. Autotune is typically more used in pop, rock, any recording. Any recording can be tinkered with. Live shows can even have autotune. Some newer Broadway recordings will have autotune. Yeah. So this is a good comment. It's a shame perfection seems an industry goal. Yeah, it is. It can be looked at that way, and I'm going to talk about this towards the end of my talk on this. This is where your values as an artist come into play. Your values as an artist. We can't make everybody do what we want to do. Some people are going to use autotune, some people are going to use AI. It's a shame. We can have our own feelings though and make music the way we want to. Um and that's important. Your vision as an artist is yours, and Um, we're gonna talk about that more in a minute. Autotune is deception. Yeah. I mean, it kind of is. It's a magic wand, sometimes. That's why we really have to be aware of it, because we can't make it go away. So we have to be aware of when it's being used, and we also have to, I think what I really want to get at is, we have to realize that just because someone uses autotune, which I'm not trying to be an autotune defender, but since it is an industry standard, we can't demonize it. I don't think there's different levels of it, of course. But when we demonize it, then sometimes it's easy to go, I give up. Autotune exists. I give up. I'm not even going to try. But if you love making music, I think you should. And don't let, autotune and the fact that it exists get you down too much, because we need your voice. And there's plenty of artists that don't use it. So we want to celebrate those people. And, that's important. And that's a lot of my opinion. So you can take that with a grain of salt. All right. So going to Uh, okay, so we talked about this. If someone uses autotune, does it mean a song is unattainable? Not necessarily. It just means they used it, and we have to find out if it's possible. All right. Now, this goes along with, your values as a musician. I think it would be good, if this is something you're passionate about, to explore this technology for yourself. Okay. It's very helpful because you'll hear what what autotune requires. Generally, when you are fixing someone's pitch, you need to be pretty close to the pitch, or else it'll sound robotic, if that makes sense. You still have to have knowledge of music and have a pretty good ear. When you explore autotune, harmonies, layering, chorusing, reverb, not to blanket statement, they're not all the same thing, but when you explore it for yourself, it can really give you more to stand on as a musician, like, this is what I believe in, this is how I use it, that person uses it this way. You can start to hear it more in others and know what's real and what's not. You can start to hear it. It's a thing um, you can kind of tune your ear to. Something else that's really important, if you are a contemporary singer, you sing pop, rock, you should also be experimenting, in my opinion, with the microphone. Microphones are basically, as I like how Matt Edwards says it as well, an extension of our voice. Okay. So learning how to use a microphone is really important, and microphone effects. Even if you want to get into pedals, you can. I was listening to a singer songwriter out of the coffee shop the other day, and he was using a pedal that created harmonies. Okay. And it was just him and his guitar, and that's all he had, but he had a pedal that created harmonies. That's something to explore. There's so many things when used tastefully, I think, or at the level you're comfortable with, that can elevate your performance in a way that's doesn't feel to you like deception, but enhances your style or brings your music to another level that I think is totally fair and reasonable. So just think about what that level is for you and uh playing around with it. Okay? Here's a good comment. I watched a clip of Audrey Hobart talking about the choice to use autotune in her first song. Her family heard it during production and told her she shouldn't do it because people might assume she can't hit the notes. Yeah. So that is the pitfall to think about as well. So I thought about this when making this video. It makes me sad. Think about like EJ, this magnificent story that has come around about her journey as a K-pop star, and now she's facing this wall of, oh, can she even sing? Is this even real? Because she chose to use autotune for whatever reason that was. And Taylor Swift deals with that. Any singer who uses autotune, Beyonce, or help in a live high profile performance has to face, oh my gosh, can you even sing? Because they're using something that, as I said, is an industry standard. And so that's something to think about as well. It's annoying for you with great talent that somebody with less talent can appear nearly as good with autotune, etc. And this is why, you know, if you're a really great singer, you don't need autotune, y'all. So I know it's frustrating to see someone who may or may not be a great singer, but we don't actually know, you know, I can't think of a singer who uses autotune besides Paris Hilton, who I'm not really sure if she can sing. Um, but when I listen to the autotune version of her singing Stars Are Blind, I don't think, wow, you know, that autotune really saves her voice. Her voice still doesn't sound that great. And I don't, no hate to Paris Hilton. I think she's hilarious, honestly. It's more of a funny song, but it's just great singing is emotional. Like Alicia Keys, it brings something out of you. You know, it's something that we're faced with in the world today. And again, we're going to touch on this in a minute about your values as an artist. The best advice I was given when young, hear each note before you play it. I think that's a great advice. That's called there's a word for it. It's escaping me, but there's a word for that. Yeah, you want to think before you sing, think before you play. It's it's great ear training, and it's an essential skill for singers and musicians alike, or all musicians, I should say. All right. So I would want to say at start of a gig to an audience, by the way, I don't use autotune. Right. Yeah. So when you have artists who are really open about that. So Lady Gaga has said, she doesn't lip sync. I think Elton John 'Cause lip syncing is another thing, right? I mean, there's so much to talk about here. Elton John, um, there's people who have said I don't lip sync. And then there's other things like, lip syncing because you're dancing. I'm sorry, but I don't care if Britney Spears is lip syncing. I wanna see her dance. She's a great dancer. There's some people you just wanna see them dance. You can't do certain dancing without a little bit of help. And so that's another thing to think about. Okay. Yes. It's also a preference. Autotune can be an artistic choice. Yeah, just like we talked about at the beginning of this with Cher. It's or T-Pain. T-Pain, if I'm getting this right, he can sing. Watch his tiny desk. He can sing, but he uses autotune because he just likes it. He thinks it's fun. So, you can use it at different levels. Yeah. You can use a little bit of it. You're getting over a cold. You can use it a lot. There's totally different levels, and usually you can hear it, guys. Like, usually you can hear the robotic sound. Okay? So, that's something to keep in mind. What about drummers that can sing? Now that is so true. So my friend Annabelle, she just learned drums and she's an amazing singer. You can look her up, Annabelle Bertucci, and she's an amazing songwriter. She just learned to play drums. My friend Manon, she can play drums too. She just learned drums and she can sing. Manon Page. So I'll link both of them when I'm done with this. But yeah, it's super impressive. Super impressive. All right. So looking at one last thing here about the auto tune, and then we'll move on. So, y'all, I can only recommend this as a voice teacher, and this is totally just me throwing in my 2 cents. You can take a lesson from me if you want to continue the conversation or ask about it in the chat to answer next week. But explore your values as a musician. We're in a time now, not to get on my soapbox, where we are faced with AI, video. Okay, I'm an actress. I'm dealing with this as well. Video, Sora too. Um, we're dealing with AI music, and I can't hate on it too much, and I'll tell you why. Because I was talking to a student about this recently. We're kind of back where we started, where the people who are pursuing music are the people who just love it. You've got your day job, you've got your life, but you do music not because necessarily you want to become famous, not because you want everyone to love you, but because you um love it. You love music. You love expressing yourself. That's the way you do it. It is frustrating to see AI, autotune, all these things getting better and feeling like it's not real. It is frustrating. But you have the opportunity to ask yourself, what am I going to use? What am I okay with as a musician? And, if a style, you notice you're singing pop music and pop is just too shiny for you, too auto tune, explore other genres that don't use it as much and start to appreciate raw vocals a little bit more and let that influence you as a singer. Listen to a lot of jazz, modern jazz out there sounds to me very raw and imperfect. And it might not be topping the charts, but it's great music. So, something to think about. And asking, what is your why? Why do you sing? Why do you do this? So, right, it not real, it's about money. If it's about money or fame, or is it about, self-expression? And I'll tell you what, your singing matters. Your art matters. Just because there's sort of an overflow of stuff now because of the internet and where we are with the internet and the almost dead internet theory or whatever, I meet new singers every day who are making an impact with the songs they write. They're performing live. They're touching hearts. They're really impacting their community on the internet and in person with their music. So it's still out there. It's just, there's just a lot on the internet that we're seeing and exposed to, but real music is out there. Real, authentic artistry is out there. I am more of an instrumentalist, but I wish I could sing, but only sing really great like the top people you know. So I thought about using AI vocals so I could do covers, AI version of my voice. So this is a really important thing to think about, y'all. I have a couple students who have come to me with some AI vocals that they created because maybe because their age, because of a disability, they can't create their songs that they write without some help. And, AI is a tool that you can use now. That's something to think about. I just want that to be put out there. I'm not endorsing it. I'm also not saying it's bad. Have helped students create their songs with this technology because I'm a teacher and that's where we are. Okay. It's a new tool. So there are people who use it who have English as a second language, who want to create songs in English or whatever language, but that's just my experience, and using it to kind of fill in the blanks for them. This is where we are. Something to think about, something to be aware of, and I'm adapting the best I can. At my core, I'm still a singing teacher. So, you know, that's what I focus on is singing technique. Okay, because that's important to me and it still brings me joy to become a better singer. Can watch all my videos, none of them have autotune, it's still important to me to have a good voice, but everybody has different things. All right, so this is a question. Okay, um I'll get to your questions here. I'm just going to let y'all know one more thing about this. If this topic is important to you, um, on Monday, I'm going live with my friend Mary Do. She is a radio host and she also was an executive producer for a record label. Hope I'm getting that right. Back in like the MySpace days, and she has had some really great success with musicians in her experience as a producer. She used to have a record label. So I'm going to be talking to her about what it means to be an artist today, asking, what is your why as an artist? And if y'all have any specific questions about that, let me know and I'll try to cover that with Mary on Monday. So keep an eye out for that. I'm really excited. It's going to be a great conversation. We're going to be talking about some really big questions about what you can do today to be the artist you want to be in the world that we live in right now. So yeah, a lot of people are using AI to come up with melodies. And this is a great comment. So thanks, Monumental Sound, for stopping in. So as a newfound thing, I found my voice fits John Mayer and folk music best. So when you listen to music, listen to what your voice fits, If you're like, oh, my voice doesn't fit this robot stuff, find some artists where you feel like your voice is similar. That can be very helpful. All right. The big problem is those who don't use Autotune will be judged by the standard people here, so it's not a level playing field if the others don't use it. This is a big question, right? I wouldn't say that is 100% the case. I understand where you're coming from. So, it depends on the genre. K-pop. Yes, people are going to expect things to sound pretty smooth. A lot of people can detect autotune though, a lot of people. And by industry standard, when I say that, I don't necessarily mean perfection. What I mean is, and I can have a music producer, student of mine can confirm this. When you use Autotune, when you use certain like tools in the studio, it creates a little bit of a smoothing effect, and it's just something our ears get accustomed to. It doesn't necessarily mean that industry standard, as in new standard to everyone. It just means professional released music. That's what I mean. So uh, so it doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't use Autotune that you won't sound good or something to most people. I like I said, I all of my videos I've made on here, all the singing I've done has been with no help of Autotune, and people still seem to like understand my voice and you know think it's fine. Yeah, I don't. So there are lots of people like Alicia Keys that sing great and without Autotune, and it's still very good. So I wouldn't say like you need to use it to be like what people perceive as good. So that's something. All right. So let's see. My why was to like my voice. And I've realized that the more I sing, the more I enjoy my voice. And the more I enjoy my voice, the more I want to work on it. That's amazing. That's amazing. Thanks, Maria. I'm also learning audio engineering, so this topic is perfect. I can definitely I would love to do more on audio engineering with some of my students who use this type of technology. Like, I have one of my students, he's also a teacher and he's a producer. He produces music, so I'd love to talk to him. I don't think you can get goosebumps from Autotune. You would think. I don't know. I mean, I certainly um didn't get goosebumps when I listened to the AI artist that's topping the charts right now, but there are people who actually like it. You know what I mean? So it's something that we just have to kind of understand that it's out there. Okay, so I have a couple of topics and questions that came up, so I'm going to go over those really quick. So this is back to the chorus of Ophelia. We were talking about Ophelia and singing. So in the chorus, after the head voice, chest, belt mix or falsetto mix, I end up singing chest mix, and it sounds so annoying since the original song is soft. I don't have any problem of others, but I have a problem in loud, shouty chest belt mix. Okay. So let's look at the chorus here. Let's think about where exactly they're talking about here. Head voice chorus after the head voice chest belt mix or falsetto mix. Okay, so let's look at Ophelia really quick here. All right, so I have the lyrics over here. Let's look at Ophelia. So she goes, all that time I sat alone in my tower, you were just holding your powers, now I can see it all. Late one night you dug me out. Oh, that's right. So she's doing like a all that time meow 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 like a mixed belt here. I sat alone in my tower, you were just holding your powers, now I can see it all. Is that the part that gets shouty? If that's the case, just be sure that when you go, I can see it all, keep it light. That's more of a head voicey part from what I remember hearing. Late one night you dug me out of my grave and to save my heart from the fate of Ophelia. Ah, keep it light, keep it in head voice, lift that soft palate, okay? This is a perfect chance to show y'all the difference with the microphone. Talk about microphone control. All right, let's do it with this. You just heard me without a microphone. You'd heard me with this microphone, which is more natural. It's just my voice, regular. This is with amp, okay? Okay. Oh gosh, I went sharp, I think. All that time I sat alone in my tower, you were just holding your paws, now I can see Okay, hear the difference. Hear the difference. It's an extension of your voice, okay? This is with dry, no reverb. Let's turn up the reverb. This is reverb. Hear the reverb? That's a lot of reverb. Let's turn it down a little bit. Can you hear the difference? Let's do it now. I think I keep going sharp. All that time I sat alone in my tower, you were just holding your powers. Now I can see it all. Late one night, you dug me out of my grave and saved my heart from the fate of Ophelia. Hear the difference? So, something to think about. There's another effect on there called chorus, which beefs up your voice a little bit, but I can't use it with the certain plug that I'm using. Anyway, something to think about, something to recognize. All right, let's go to one more question of the week. And if y'all have any more questions, let me know. I would love to answer them. All right, so this was a great little comment here. Hey Olivia, after starting my singing journey, I have come to realize that I likely have an underdeveloped relationship to my voice due to being very quiet during childhood, not even crying in my first years. Anybody relate to that? I believe I won't have much use for more advanced ideas of registers until I've become more comfortable in my everyday vocal usage. For example, people often miss that I'm talking to them due to my voice being too quiet, and when I try to raise my voice, I go too hard and freak people out. Haha. Wondering if you have any advice on these very basics of the voice or any thoughts at all. Even if you disagree, I am currently working on mindfully familiarizing myself with my abdominal muscles and breath regulation, aiming to be able to hold a lip trill for more than 4 seconds. Awesome comment. So, something to realize with your voice. I know it's so obvious, but your speaking voice and your singing voice are the same voice. So I really love this comment because it reminds us that, yes, they're the same voice. When we become more aware of our voice, our vocal quality, our volume when we speak, we can actually learn more about our voice, singing voice as well. So, here's some things you can do to explore your voice when you are just speaking that will translate pretty well to singing as well. So, you want to try different sounds, and you also do want to become aware of your breath and how it connects to your voice. I love that this commenter said he's trying to hold a lip trill, which is this, for 4 seconds. That exercise alone is going to connect your breath to your voice. How long can you hold it? If you can't do a lip trill because it tickles too much or something, then you can hum. That also works. Doing SOVT exercises, exercise with those singing straw or regular straw works as well. Lip trills are my favorite because in order to keep your breath connected, and in order to make the lip trill, you need to connect your breath. Like it has to be connected. If the lip trill stops like this, it means that your breath isn't connected to your sound or you stopped using your breath in your sound. So it's a great way to train your breath. That is awesome. That's what I would do for connecting the breath. Another thing you can do is explore head voice, chest voice, mixy voice sound qualities just with speaking. So access a rich chest voice by just going, hey, and listen carefully. Hey, I'm not going, hey, hey. I'm going, hey. There's a difference. One is more rooted in my lower chest, rich chest voice. That's a sound I want to use in my singing, and it's also a sound that I can use just by saying hey, speaking. Another sound that I always recommend is the meow, meow university. Okay, I'm like the meow lady. So if you can go And I don't mean a cartoon meow like meow, not like that. More like very light meow. That is what I would say it would be similar to a mixy sound. Meow, meow. So doing that or lower. Meow, meow. Really forward sounding. You can also go neary, 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 near, neary, or mang. All of these sounds are very much tapping into your resonance or your twang, which is something that not all of us use. I have a pretty nasally speaking voice, but some people don't have a naturally nasally voice, so they need to kind of bring that out. Okay? Another thing you can do is ooh, 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 hoot like an owl. It's raising your soft palate, maybe making a different shape in your throat, your vocal um words escaping me. Tract. Vocal tract. Ooh, more round, open shape. That's another sound you can explore with like a hooting owl sound or a Julia Child impersonation. So those are the three big ones. Resonance with the meow or a neary, neary nasal. Uh, Speaking in your chest voice, preferably in your lower range, and then hooting like an owl or impersonating like a Julia Child voice or a Mickey Mouse. Okay? I can't do a lip trill unless I squeeze my cheeks a little with my hand. LOL. Yeah, not everyone can do a lip trill. It's okay. I have a whole video on what to do instead. It's very niche. If you can't do a lip trill, because not everybody can do it for whatever reason. It's just a thing. All right. And I don't know, do I think voice play uses Autotune? I don't know who that is. Maybe I'm living under a rock. Let me know. Okay, y'all. If you have any other questions, let me know. But I think I'm going to wrap up this live soon. This is really fun. This was quite the doozy. I should be back Monday with Mary to talk about the music industry and becoming the artist that you want to be in today's world. So if you would like to hop in on that, let me know. If you have any questions about singing, go ahead and ask them in the chat or the comments, and I'll answer them on the lives. And the next live I do will be with Mary, and then probably another one the following week. We'll see. I know the holidays are coming up, so it's going to get crazy, but I will be back to answer your questions. And please feel free to book a lesson with me. Just go ahead and go to oliviapeck.com, and there's a lesson request form, and away we go. You can also send me a voice memo on there, and I would love to hear your voice and hear how it's going with you. So feel free to reach out and send me a voice memo or send me a message. I would love to hear from you. Okay, y'all. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I really love seeing you all here and answering your questions, but most importantly, hear what you have to say because y'all have the best topics, and I could not do this without you. Oh my gosh. This is all like created by you, really, because your questions are so good and the comments are great. And I appreciate your kindness so much. I have the most kind people being so encouraging in my comments on my videos, and it just makes my day. So thank you all for being here. It means a lot to me. I hope if I don't see you before the holidays, for whatever reason, be sure to follow so you get updated on videos so you don't miss me. But if not, just have a happy season. And if you're looking for a little gift guide, it's the last thing I'll throw in here. On my website, I have products that I recommend, and they're just Amazon affiliate links that I slap on there. But they're all products that I hand pick that I use or I just think are fantastic. So they're ones I recommend. Some of the equipment I don't have because I just haven't been able to buy it yet. But most of the equipment I have, like this amp, I really have that. Okay. So most of it, and this microphone's on there. This microphone's on there. Both of these, not this stand. This stand is horrible. This stand is on there. So I recommend what I use. Okie dokie. Have a good day, y'all, and thanks for joining.